Welcome back to Unlock, Empower, Transform. I'm Shay Blackmon, HR strategist, culture transformation leader, DBA candidate, and someone who has spent the better part of 2.5 decades watching organizations make the same mistake with every major technology shift. They roll out a tool, call a vendor, run a half-day training, and then wonder why nothing changed. Today we are talking about AI. Specifically, the gap that is quietly expanding inside your organization right now between the people who understand how to use AI and the people who are still trying to figure out what it actually does. That gap, it has a name. It's called the AI literacy gap, and it is costing organizations far more than they realize. Today's episode is called The AI Literacy Gap: Upskilling Your Workforce in Weeks, Not Years. We're going to talk about rapid AI training that actually sticks, because another forgotten initiative is not going to cut it. How to create learn by doing environments that remove the fear around AI experimentation, and what an accelerated AI adoption curriculum actually looks like for non-technical teams, not the IT department, the people who make up the fabric of your organization. Let's get into it. Let's start with the uncomfortable truth about corporate training. Most of it doesn't work. And I say that not to be harsh. I say it because after 24 years in HR and organizational leadership across manufacturing, automotive, healthcare, and professional services, I have seen the graveyard of well-intentioned initiatives that never made it past the launch email. AI training is particularly at risk of ending up in that graveyard. Here's why. Most organizations approach AI upskilling the same way they approach compliance training. They find a vendor, schedule a session, check a box, and move on. And then 6 months later, they're having a conversation about why adoption is low, and nobody seems to know how to use the tools they paid for. Sound familiar? The problem isn't the technology. It's never really about the technology. The problem is that organizations are treating AI literacy like a knowledge transfer problem when it's actually a behavior change problem. Those require completely different solutions. Knowledge transfer says, give people information and they will use it. Behavior change says, people adopt new habits when there is context, repetition, low stakes for failure, and a clear connection to how the new skill makes their work better. Not just faster, better. There was a company, mid-size professional services, that invested significantly in an AI tools platform for their entire team. They ran a full-day kickoff, provided access credentials, and sent everyone back to their desks. 90 days later, active usage was under 20%. When they dug into it, the feedback was consistent. People didn't feel confident they were using the tools correctly. They were worried about making mistakes in front of colleagues, and nobody had made it clear which tasks AI was actually supposed to help with. None of that is a knowledge problem. That's a psychological safety and culture problem wrapped in a technology initiative. So what does training that actually sticks look like? First, it has to be contextual. Generic AI training teaches people what AI is. Effective AI training teaches people how AI intersects with their specific role, their specific responsibilities, and their actual day-to-day decisions. The person processing invoices needs different AI literacy than the person writing proposals. One size fits nobody. Second, it has to be brief and recurring. The research on learning retention is clear. Short, frequent bursts outperform marathon training sessions by a wide margin. Think 15 to 20-minute skill modules deployed weekly over 6 to 8 weeks rather than a single intensive day that people half remember by Thursday. Third, and this one is non-negotiable, it has to have leadership modeling. When leaders in an organization visibly use AI tools, talk about what they've tried, share what worked and what didn't, it signals to the entire team that this is safe ground, that it's expected, that curiosity is not just permitted but valued. This is precisely the kind of culture infrastructure that my book, High Value Leadership Transforming Organizations Through Purposeful Culture, gets into at a deep level. Because the conditions that make AI adoption succeed are the same conditions that make any meaningful change succeed: purpose driven leadership, trust based empowerment, and cultural alignment. The link to grab your copy is in the show notes. Now let's talk about what I consider the single most underutilized strategy in AI upskilling: the sandbox. A sandbox, for anyone who didn't grow up in tech, and many of us didn't, and that's completely fine, is a low stakes environment where people can try things without consequences, test tools, make mistakes, explore capabilities, and build confidence before any of it touches a real deliverable. The concept is simple. The organizational will to create one is apparently quite rare. Here's the reality. Most people are not resistant to AI because they don't understand it. They're resistant because they're afraid of looking incompetent. They're afraid of pressing the wrong thing in front of the wrong person. They're afraid of the results being embarrassingly bad. And in a culture that doesn't explicitly normalize experimentation, that fear is completely rational. A sandbox removes the stakes. It says, this space exists for you to try things. Nothing you do here is permanent. Nothing here will end up in a client file or a board report. This is just practice. And practice, repetitive, low stakes, curiosity driven practice, is how adults actually build new skills. What does an AI sandbox look like in practice? It doesn't have to be complicated. It can be as structured or as open-ended as your team needs. A structured sandbox might look like weekly 30-minute challenges, prompts that teams work through together using AI tools, then debrief. What did the AI get right? Where did it miss the mark? What would have made the prompt better? You are building critical evaluation skills at the same time as familiarity with the tool. A more open-ended sandbox might simply be designated time, say 1 hour per week, where team members can explore AI tools freely, document what they tried, and share one takeaway in a team channel. No judgment, no wrong answers, just discovery. The key element in both cases is debrief. Shared reflection transforms individual experience into collective learning. And collective learning is how organizations build capability rather than just having a handful of individuals who figured something out on their own. There was a healthcare adjacent organization, administrative side, not clinical, that built a very simple sandbox framework into their weekly team meeting rhythm. 10 minutes, once a week, where someone on the team shared something they'd tested with AI that week. It could be something that worked brilliantly. It could be something that completely missed. Both were treated as equally valuable contributions. Within 3 months, their self-reported AI comfort levels had shifted dramatically. People who described themselves as not tech people were now actively suggesting AI use cases for their own workflows. That didn't happen because of a software platform or a vendor training. It happened because the culture created permission to try. Permission to try. That is a leadership decision, not a technology decision. This is also a central theme in my upcoming High Value Leadership Intensive, where we go deep into building the kind of organizational conditions that make transformation actually stick, whether that transformation is AI adoption, culture shift, or strategic repositioning. The waitlist link is in the show notes. If you're even slightly curious, get on it now. Here's your actionable exercise for today. I call it the AI Literacy Audit, and it takes about 5 minutes. This is something I use at the front end of any culture or organizational transformation conversation because you cannot build a bridge if you don't know where both shores are. Step 1. On a piece of paper or in a notes app, draw a simple grid. 3 columns. Label them: know it, heard of it, no idea. Step 2. List the AI tools your organization currently has access to or that you personally use. Put each tool in the column that honestly reflects your relationship with it, not where you want to be, where you actually are. Step 3. For every tool in the Know It column, write one specific task you've completed with it in the last 30 days. If you can't name one, move it to Heard of It. Step 4. Look at your grid. That's your current AI literacy baseline, not your team's, yours. Now, here's where it gets interesting for leaders specifically. If you can't complete step 3 for any tool in your know it column, tools your organization is paying for, that tells you something important. It tells you that your team almost certainly can't either. And if they can, they're doing it without the modeling and context that would make the behavior sustainable. Share your audit result in the comments, even just your honest column distribution. I read everything, and I want to know where you're actually starting from, not where the initiative rollout claimed you'd be. Let's close with something I've been developing as part of Shea Blackman Consulting's approach to AI-informed culture transformation. And that is an accelerated AI adoption curriculum specifically designed for non-technical teams. I want to be clear about what I mean by non-technical. I don't mean people who aren't smart. I mean people whose job function is not technology development, data science, or IT infrastructure. HR professionals, operations managers, project coordinators, communications teams, finance administrators, customer-facing roles, the people who make up the majority of any organization's workforce and who are being handed AI tools with the expectation that they'll somehow just figure it out. The approach I built sits at the intersection of organizational behavior, adult learning theory, and HR strategy, which makes sense given that my doctoral research is focused specifically on AI-enhanced predictive analytics for culture transformation. I'm not approaching this from a purely technical angle. I'm approaching it from a people systems angle, because that's where the actual gap lives. The curriculum is structured around 4 phases, and it's designed to be completed in 6 to 8 weeks, which, before anyone starts calculating, is significantly faster than the 12 to 18-month timelines most organizations accept as standard for technology adoption. Phase 1 is awareness and demystification. The goal here is simple: reduce fear. This phase uses brief, accessible content to help teams understand what AI actually does, what it doesn't do, and, critically, what it cannot replace. That last part matters enormously for workforce morale. When people understand that AI is a tool for amplifying their expertise rather than a replacement for it, the anxiety drops significantly. Phase 2 is contextual application. This is where we connect AI capabilities to the team's specific role and responsibilities, not generic use cases, their use cases. What would it look like for this team in this organization to use AI to do their existing work more effectively? This phase requires a level of organizational self-knowledge that many companies don't have, which is where fractional HR strategy comes in. Phase 3 is sandbox practice. This is everything we just talked about: structured experimentation, shared reflection, building confidence through repetition in a low-stakes environment. This phase is non-negotiable. There is no shortcut here. Adults build skills by doing things, not by watching other people do things or reading about how to do things. The sandbox is the work. Phase 4 is integration and governance. This is where new AI behaviors get embedded into actual workflows with guardrails. What are the policies around AI use? What gets reviewed by a human before it's final? What are the ethical considerations specific to your industry or role? This phase is what separates a sustainable AI adoption from a novelty that fades out by quarter 3. 6 to 8 weeks, 4 phases. A workforce that has moved from "I don't really understand this" to "I know how to use this and I know when not to." That is the goal, and it is achievable when organizations treat AI adoption as a culture initiative rather than a technology rollout. Let's land this plane. Today, we talked about why AI training fails, and it's not because your people aren't capable. It's because most organizations treat a behavior change challenge like an information delivery problem. We talked about the power of sandbox environments and what it actually looks like to create psychological permission to experiment. And we walked through a 4-phase accelerated AI adoption curriculum designed for the people who make up the majority of your workforce, the non-technical teams who are being handed tools and left to figure it out alone. Your free resource for this episode is the Shield Resilience Strategy Guide. Now, you might be wondering what resilience has to do with AI upskilling, and the answer is everything. The healthy coping and internal resources sections of the SHIELD framework are especially relevant right now because navigating workplace transformation at this pace requires coping strategies that go well beyond just adapt. Download the guide using the link in the show notes. Then drop a comment and tell me which section you're reaching for right now. If today resonated, I want you to check out High Value Leadership: Transforming Organizations Through Purposeful Culture. Chapter 10, Fostering Innovation and Adaptability, speaks directly to what we covered today around creating cultures where experimentation is safe and AI adoption can actually take root. That link is in the show notes. And if you are serious about building a high-value, AI-ready culture or positioning yourself as the leader who can do that work, the High Value Leadership Intensive is where we go deep. Don't wait on that one. The waitlist link is in the show notes. I'll be back Tuesday with an episode that I suspect is going to hit a nerve. Burnout is a culture problem, not a personal failure. If you've ever been told to just practice better self-care while your organization's culture remained completely intact and untouched, Tuesday is for you. Until then, I'm Shay Blackmon. Lead with purpose, protect your energy, and remember, your people cannot adopt what they don't understand and cannot sustain what they don't trust. Build both. The rest follows. This is Unlock, Empower, Transform. I'll see you Tuesday.